Hey guys, I am the Comics Kid 2099, and I am here to talk about a graphic novel, Moon Knight Volume 2, by Brian Michael Bendis and Alex Maleev. If you have not seen my haul video from last week, I bought this book foolishly thinking it was Volume 1. When I saw my mistake, I decided to go ahead and read it anyway without first reading Volume 1, just to see how well it held up on its own. And shockingly, it does hold up on its own. Or rather, I don't actually feel the need to read Volume 1 before reading this, but that doesn't actually mean that this holds up as a story, but more on that later. If you haven't read this book, I am about to summarize the plot, so if you are interested in reading this, then turn this video off as I will be spoiling basically everything. Before this book, Moon Knight is a powerless vigilante with multiple personalities, or split personalities. I know that in real life there is a difference, but I'm not sure what it is, and I'm not even sure if the people who write Moon Knight know what it is. He has also worshipped/served the Egyptian moon god Khonshu. That's basically his shtick before this book. Just reading this book, I believe I was able to pick up on all of the details of what happened in Volume 1. By day, Moon Knight is the producer of a television show that details his exploits as a soldier of fortune before he became a vigilante. And now he's trying to take down Count Nefaria, who is the new kingpin of Los Angeles, and he has intercepted the head of the evil android Ultron. And instead of personalities that represent aspects of himself, like a billionaire playboy, a crazy veteran of war, and a street cabbie, now his multiple personalities are Spider-Man, Captain America, and Wolverine. That was Volume 1. This is Volume 2. Here, we've got a good cop who is part of the LAPD, and he is playing Jim Gordon to Moon Knight's Batman. Moon Knight convinces him to move against Count Nefaria. His captain doesn't seem to want to. Eventually, we find out that the captain is corrupt. Moon Knight and his lady friend Echo, they move against Nefaria. Echo dies, Moon Knight calls in the Avengers, and they capture Nefaria. Then Tony takes the Ultron head. Moon Knight's TV show is cancelled, and then we get a caption that reads, Moon Knight will return in the Age of Ultron. Now, I've said before that Bendis is very hit or miss with me. I personally feel like when he's on a book that is basically unconnected to everything else, like Ultimate Spider-Man or his Daredevil run, then he can basically just do whatever he wants, and it is all really great, for the most part. But then when he's on a book like New Avengers, he's suddenly the premier architect for the entire Marvel Universe. And if you want to just read a complete story, beginning, middle, and end, then you're out of luck, because Avengers Disassembled, House of M, Secret Invasion, Dark Reign, Siege, and Age of Ultron, as well as his entire Avengers run that includes New Avengers, Dark Avengers, Mighty Avengers, and Secret Avengers, all of that is part of some 500-issue mega epic as told by Brian Michael Bendis. And that is where I cannot stand his work, because I don't feel like I'm getting the complete package that I should be getting when I pay $4 for a 30-page comic book. Imagine, if you will, going to McDonald's. You pay $5 for a burger and fries, but then you get 1/6 of a burger and 1/6 of an order of fries. In the past, you could get a complete meal for that price, but now if you want the complete meal, you'll have to pay 6 times what you used to pay. Oh, and you'll get it over the course of half a year instead of all at once. Now, you may think that I'm being sarcastic, but really I'm not. Even on the books where I think Bendis is pretty okay, he is notorious for taking a story that could be told in 2 or 3 issues, and he thins it out and stretches it into a 6-issue story. And I should point out that I'm not actually against the concept of a multi-part story. Even in the 1960s, there were plenty of multi-part stories in X-Men, Spider-Man, and Doctor Strange. But I feel like back then, if they wanted to tell a 5-part story, they would take the material that you usually found in 1 issue, and they would multiply it by 5. You'd get a cliffhanger ending, but you weren't getting shortchanged on what you came to read. But nowadays, I feel like they outline a story, and on paper it sounds like it could be 2 issues long, and then they turn it into a 6-issue story. This practice wouldn't be acceptable if they did this at McDonald's, and it is not acceptable in comic books. But maybe you're a fan of Bendis. Maybe you don't mind the decompression, or even maybe you're a fan of the decompression, and you're probably saying that it isn't as bad as I say, and that Bendis is taking his time with the story. He's developing character, he's setting the mood, he doesn't want to rush himself, and he's letting the story take as long as he needs it to take. I've heard all of these defenses before on other Bendis books, so I'm assuming someone out there who is hearing this review is saying the same thing. But all you're really getting here is lots of this, and this, and this. Was there a reason we needed an entire issue which was nothing but a fight? Do I need to draw the plot triangle from the 8th grade and explain it? This fight scene would be the top of the triangle, in one story. What we should be getting is a complete story in this issue. I don't mind if it has a cliffhanger to get people to come back for the next issue, but you really do need to give people an actual reason to come back beyond, well, I want to know what happens next. Give them a good, compelling story that just happens to have some kind of whoa moment at the end. This shouldn't be that hard. Basically everybody did this in the 1980s. So needless to say, I'm not a fan of the format that we're getting here. Even if you can somehow get past the fact that what really should have been a 4-issue miniseries has been turned into a 12-issue miniseries, I mean, I guess it was a mini. I don't think Bendis intended for this to go beyond where he ends it here. This book is still crap because all it really is a 12-issue commercial for Age of Ultron. You would think that Moon Knight, a character who basically nobody cared about, would be the very definition of the kind of book that I'd like from Brian Michael Bendis. He's on the very fringe of the Marvel Universe. Bendis comes on board. You don't have to worry about reading all of Bendis' life's work before reading this, but no, you'd be wrong, because this is just a prologue for Age of Ultron. And for what? I haven't even read Age of Ultron, but from what I understand, Ultron is barely even in that story. So why bother setting that story up with the plot device of an Ultron head here in Moon Knight? Did the audience for Age of Ultron even read this thing? I'm guessing no. Comparing this nonsense to any other Bendis book, this title got no talk or hype at all. And it's not surprising. If Bendis is just going to treat this job as a chance to advertise his upcoming big event, then there's no reason I or anyone else should treat this air quotes story seriously. So what else is going on here? Beyond the format of the book just sucking hard, there's really not a lot going on here. I don't like the thing where other superheroes are part of his personality. It doesn't make sense, and yeah, I'm sure it's explained in Volume 1, but even if it is, it's still kinda dumb. Is there anyone who thinks that Moon Knight having aspects of Wolverine and Spider-Man as his personality is a better idea than the multiple personalities he had before? No, didn't think so. And there's a lot of space devoted to showing how Moon Knight has a shield similar to Captain America and web shooters and Wolverine-esque claws. And why? So that he can be like them? Even one of the characters in this book thinks that this is dumb. Then there's maybe the worst part of all. Echo is killed by Count Nefaria. Now, I don't really care about Echo. She's been in a bunch of books that I haven't read, or if I did, it was over a decade ago. She first appeared in a Daredevil comic before Bendis came on that title, and then Bendis used her in Daredevil, then he used her in his Avengers run, and then he brought her here so that she could be killed. Now, like I said, I don't really care about this character, but I don't like it when any character is killed off for no reason at all. This story wants us to think that Echo died saving the world because her ghost or a new personality of Mark's comes in to talk to him, and she says she doesn't even mind dying as long as it was to save the world. Well, honey, I've got some bad news for you. Count Nefaria just killed Echo in the middle of the street. There were no innocent civilians that she was trying to protect. Moon Knight and Echo weren't on a mission to steal something important from Nefaria's lair. This is the picture definition of a gimmick to sell comic books. Anyone who cared about this character in Daredevil or Avengers might flock to buy this issue when they hear that she's dead. But when Marvel has openly made it a policy to kill one character every quarter, that kind of takes some of the shock and edge out of it when this happens, right? The reason it was a big deal when Jean Grey and Gwen Stacy died was because that kind of thing never happened, and then the minds of the fans were blown. But this is barely even a footnote in Marvel history. This happens to get Moon Knight motivated to go after Count Nefaria. I mean, it's not like the fact that Nefaria is a villain would be enough to motivate this guy to go after him, right? It has to be personal. Even though I get the feeling that Moon Knight and Echo haven't really known each other for that long. I've heard some people compare this slaughter to when Frank Miller killed Elektra before he left Daredevil in the 80s. But the key difference is that Miller actually created Elektra, so it makes some sense that he might not have faith in anyone else's ability to write a character that he created. But Bendis did not create Echo. He's the guy who used her the most, but at the end of the day, this just feels like Bendis is being selfish and doesn't want anyone to use this character that he has used over the years. In short, this is inexcusable. I've got nothing else to say here, guys. This book is one that I do not recommend. It's almost completely devoid of any substance. I don't come away from this feeling like I know these characters other than the superficial things like former S.H.I.E.L.D. agent or has voices in his head. And worst of all, I know I've said it already, but this is just a commercial for something else that Bendis cares more about. Don't buy this, guys. Don't even read it in any way, legal or illegal. You may not thank me for it, but if you do read it, you'll wish that you could go back in time and stop yourself from doing so. So once again, it seems like in pursuit of trying to find something to make a video about, I've come to give yet another negative review. I don't enjoy this, guys. I really don't. Maybe my next review will be overwhelmingly positive. I sure hope so. So anyway, if you like this video, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. I'll be here tomorrow with some other kind of video. Until then, I'll see you guys next time. Have a great day.